let's jump directly into it. Let's say the foundation activity starts very much where your business, let's say, should have been done already. So as you can see here, we have a lot of contractors, the big contractors who do the installation in industrial facilities, but also in HVAC. Maybe you've heard that Altat has bought lately Cape and Hotel, two of the biggest contractors. These are the companies using mineral wool or foam glass or whatever, flexible elastomeric foams, and they go into the plants and they put it around the pipes. And I would say we have more or less in Europe everyone on board who is of kind, of significance to the installation market. The foundation was established in 2009, and don't worry, there is no product. So the product that I'm going to show you is actually a non-profit organization and the so-called TIPSEC program, but I keep it a little bit as a secret to also keep you curious this morning. What is this all about, this TIPSEC? And we initiated the foundation because we said, we're working in all these plants, refineries, power plants, chemical plants. We walk along and we see that there's a huge potential which is simply not being tapped today. And we see that energy efficiency is becoming more and more important. And I will show you why it is becoming more and more important for all of us. It's not just a business opportunity. There's a higher task we have to follow, and hopefully not in the way as Kodak did, but in a successful way. So I think you said that all in your introduction, so we can just jump on the next slide. Before we started to make our own studies, and I will show you afterwards the potential of existing facilities in Europe and installation work which we can carry out there and what this could deliver in energy figures. But before we did the study in 2010, I was urgently looking for some studies which could help me to raise the message that energy efficiency is very important and that the installation branch can deliver a significant contribution to it. And I found these figures from the UN. In 2010, we were consuming roughly 1.25 times what the planet can give us sustainable. So we were not sustainable already. Now in 2016, what do you guess? Where are we in 2016? Did we go back to 1 by 1, so it's sustainable? Who thinks that? Are you too tired or you're very pessimistic? Or we went up, and then we went up to what kind of share? How many times do we consume on our planet the resources it can deliver to us? 1.3? 1.4?
1.6.
1.6, someone knows it. Very good. Yeah? It's 1.6 planets we're consuming today, so we are far away, and of course the trend goes more and more, and energy is just one of the figures. The resources the planet can give us. The shocking momentum here is, and therefore the climate agreement in Paris, climate is one thing, but we talk about resources in general. If these trends continue in 2030, we will need 2 times this planet. Or we take half of us and we fly to another planet and let's do the business there. And there's another shocking moment, but it's not bashing the Chinese. But still, if China consumes on a level the US consumes today, they will need 2 planets just for themselves. So you can see that there is an urgent need, not only energy efficiency, but resource efficiency. And I think when it comes to innovation in industry, resource efficiency is becoming more and more popular. And there's a reason for it, because it delivers a win-win situation into any direction. But what we first of all have to learn is we have to learn how we can produce more by using less. And of course, energy efficiency is one of the contributors to it. What I want to show you is, of course, there's a lot of activity going on, which has a consequence already to your business, because if the contractors are healthy, they buy a lot of insulation material, and if insulation product producers, manufacturers, have to produce a lot of material for the contractors, they will use your machines, build new plants, and need more machines. So we are really very much linked and sitting in one boat. What is significant is that in the European Union we have this Energy Efficiency Directive. Who hasn't heard about the Energy Efficiency Directive yet? Everybody's heard about it. That's good. So Article 8 is forcing any company which is not a small and medium-sized enterprise to do an energy audit every 4 years. On a national level, they can do other things. In Germany, it's mostly having an ISO 50001 management standard, which you can have, and if you get that certified, you don't fall under this energy auditing system. And we are approaching a little bit what TipCheck is now. But before, just to remind ourselves, this is, let's say, the product phase. What installation delivers? What business are we in? Ryan was asking. And what is, let's say, a good argument why it should be used in its best way is that we see multiple benefits. So if a company decides to go for a qualitative, pretty good installation system, this all comes with it. So the working environment is not as hot as it might be with less insulation or no insulation at all. Safety issues like surface temperatures above 60 degrees. But finally, and that's always the best argument when you talk in business, it will reduce the cost. And it does it rather quickly. In industry, we talk about payback times of 2 years and less than that. In the building environment, you know, insulation is very important, but you have to live in your house like 10 or 15 years till it pays off. In industry with high temperature, the average time to pay back is 2 years or less. So this is very, very attractive. What do we do with EiiF as a foundation? We said, okay, it's nice to take UN figures, but we really need to know and to get into what is the potential in European plants. Our focus was very much in Europe. We have just deleted Europe in our EiiF foundation in the statutes because we will very soon start a project for the Middle East. So we said we need to collect some proof. We need to have a figure. If you want to go to Brussels and discuss with the politicians there what they could do to increase energy efficiency in industry, you need to come with a study. You need to come with proven figures to have arguments there. When you have them, okay, then it's good to have them, but if you keep them at home, nobody is going to know, so you need to do some communication there. And finally, when you talk to plant owners, they don't give a lot about the European figure. They want to know, in my plant, I want to see what can I save, how much is it going to cost, what is my payback time if I invest in insulation solutions. And this is where the TipCheck program comes in. And TipCheck stands for Technical Installation Performance Check, and is nothing else than an energy audit according to the European Standard 16247 or the ISO Standard 50002 for energy auditing, specialized and focusing on those parts in an industrial facility which are insulated and which can be insulated. So very often you see pairs of flanges not insulated, big walls not insulated, but I will show you some concrete examples. One of the major experiences we did in the past years was this TipCheck in a refinery in Italy. You see this huge storage tank. The temperature inside here is 60 degrees Celsius, and the client had a huge corrosion under insulation issue here. Corrosion is not caused by insulation, it's caused by water. But the problem is if the water gets into the insulation system and it doesn't get out again, then you have this phenomenon called corrosion under insulation. So the asset owner was very frustrated that after, 20 years, this rooftop was heavily corroded. It was very expensive for him to remove the old thing. They had a lot of, safety issues here because people could fall down into the tank because it was corroded as such. You can see a little bit the small people there, which gives you the dimension of it. It's a football field surface. And the owner said, 60 degrees Celsius, this is low temperature. In industry, 60 degrees Celsius, this is low temperature. You know what I'm going to do? I won't insulate this rooftop again. I just put a normal rooftop, so I will have no corrosion issues anymore in the future, and it's only 60 degrees Celsius. Just think, who would heat up a football field 365 days per year to 60 degrees Celsius and tell you this is not an energy waste? But this is what we find in industry. 60 degree low temperature. It avoids the costly corrosion issue here. Of course, there's innovative technical solutions there how you can insulate it without getting a corrosion problem. But this was the point. So one of our TipCheck engineers, with his company, a contractor from Italy, he had the job to remove everything. So nice job for him to do. He said, I don't think it's a good idea not to insulate it. And he went back home using the software we provide, so-called tip-check calculator, and he calculated for him the energy cost if he really starts working with this storage tank without any insulation on the rooftop. So he said, don't do it, because the money you can save here, is significant. What do you think? How much money would he spend? How much money do you need to spend in Europe if you heat up a football field to 60 degrees Celsius per year? Is it more than 200,000 euros or less? More? It's about 430,000 euros per year, 9,500 megawatt hours. What he would just fire in the air without having any insulation solution on this rooftop here. And you can imagine, with a very simple insulation solution, taking care that if water gets in, the water can get out again, he can save and reduce the energy loss by about 80% of it. So let's say 380,000 euros payback time of less than 2 years. And then he has a lot of money to do inspections, to do risk-based inspections to see before it corrodes heavily, he can already start acting. So he can do regular maintenance. For our member company and the tip check engineer, this was a huge success, because first of all, they had the big business to take it all off. Then they convinced the client that he should insulate it and see how lovely they did it. This is how it looks today. And now he has a regular maintenance job to do to check that everything is in order. But the client is still saving a lot of money, because let's say he pays 20,000 euros for this maintenance job, inspection job. He has still 360 after 2 years, which he's saving every year. So this is a significant energy loss, and what I said before, reduced costs for your client. But just to give you another example, Borealis is one of the big companies have written into the specification just lately, only insulate if necessary to avoid corrosion. We're discussing with them. The trend is not going into the right direction here, definitely not. So this is a typical pair of flanges and valves not insulated with thermography. You can see that it's really burning here. And this is what we do in the 1 week's training. We take insulation engineers and we give them an idea how to use thermography. Of course, you need to get qualified in an extra course to do this, and how to find the hotspots. Let's say for an uninsulated pair of flanges, you don't need a thermographic camera. It's like an open window in a building. But in industry, some things are seen very differently than you would do it in a building. Yeah? One of the reasons why these parts are not insulated, for example valves, is one time per year we need to get there and turn something. And then if there is an insulation box around it, this is annoying, we don't want that. Very often you see there had been a box. They took it once off and then it was off for the rest of its life, let's say. But the same argument, I don't need a front door in my house. I have to go in and out every day. So it's really annoying to open it and close it again. There's some other reasons why we have front doors, but it's a very stupid argument if you put it to the ground. Okay, this is another example. I won't read out all these figures. You have it in the printout, and of course, if you want to have more information, feel very welcome to contact me at any time, and we can go more into details. I also have the tip check report with me, which is a study in which we evaluated the first 180 audits, and I will go more into detail now into this. You find many of these examples, and in this example, the payback time was just 1 year, or even less than that. So it's really attractive. Okay, so this is what I just announced. We're pretty proud of it. I think it's a wonderful study. It has been picked up by many industrial companies and also in the political environment in Brussels, because it's one of the first studies where we went into 180 plants and we did an energy audit. You know, this Article 8 and the Energy Efficiency Directive, they are pretty young. And we were one of the first to deliver some, not scientific, realistic figures on how the situation is in real industry today. It's already in its second edition. We found out, it doesn't matter if you're in Poland or in Germany or in the UK, you find this potential in any refinery which we were in, or any power plant or any chemical plant, any facility. So the sectors also does matter. Equipment can be everywhere. It could be a storage tank, it could be a valve, it could be a steam line, and we find it overall operating temperatures with a small difference in the very cold. So in LNG plants, of course, there is insulation because otherwise with minus 150 degrees you get a real big problem with the ends. Okay, so the annual energy saving potential identified. So what we found in 180 plants was 750,000 megawatt hours, equivalent more or less to 500,000 tons of CO2 and 110,000 cars. For our clients, we identified an energy savings potential, calculating this very conservatively on very low energy prices of about 23.5 million euros. That sounds a lot for me as a private person. If you run a refinery, it's peanuts. But still, it's very attractive. Remember, the payback time is very short. So you invest and some things pay back themselves while they are installed. So we really talk about rapid payback here. What you can see, and for us this is another proof that our figures must be right, after a tip check, 3 out of 4, 75% of the clients got active, and this is what we want. The tip check is nice, the energy audit is not saving 1 kilowatt hours, so they have to insulate afterwards. But 75% do. So the success rate is fantastic, but still it means 25% don't do it. But I come back later to that. So what we realized in this first 180 audits we did, out of the 750,000 megawatt hours, we realized 500,000, 370,000 tons of CO2, equivalent to 80,000 cars per year. And for the insulation business, your clients, the contractors and manufacturers, we raised about 20 million euros in insulation business. Again, this is a first start. This is not the world. We are not, and this is the Kodak moment maybe, with tip check, we are not going to change old business models. So the big contractors and the big job in industrial facilities, I'm not talking about HVAC, I'm talking about power stations, nuclear power station, something fantastic for an installation contractor. I don't like it. It's not good for the business, but it's very good for the environment, and I think for humankind that we get out of this technology, but that's my personal opinion. But what we see for our members, the business is changing. In Europe, it's going and changing towards maintenance. We have a lot of existing facilities which are getting older and older, or aged, or whatever you want to call it, and they need to do new maintenance jobs on it. And they have projects running to do it, but it's a completely different business. In the past, a big contractor like EiiF was sitting and waiting for BASF to publish a big job. So insulate kilometers of steam lines in a chemical plant. And that was high volume, but unfortunately, because there's a lot of competition going on, very small margins. And in the future, this high volume, definitely, and this is the Kodak idea, won't happen in Europe anymore. If you build a wind park, the insulation you need, you can forget about it. It has nothing to do with the old job you did in a nuclear power plant. So what we need to see here, and we try to help with our foundation here, is to open the door to a new business, which is maintenance, but it means you need higher qualified people to do, for example, the energy audit. You need active people who knock on the door at BASF or Wacker Chemie is here, so let's take Wacker, who knock on your door at Wacker and tell you, hey, you have large potential in your chemical plants on these uninsulated parts and heavily damaged parts. And I can identify and calculate for you the need for the investment, the payback time for it, and I can promise you I will find for you very economic, attractive solutions here. And that will mean it's a lower volume business, but it's a higher quality, and we hope that the companies are smart enough to get maybe a better margin for it than they did in the past for the high volume. But we are not profit, so this is the job of the companies. Okay. What happens if you walk through a Wacker plant with the energy manager or plant manager of this plant? After the first facility walkthrough, you do a small exercise. You take a thermographic camera with you, but most of the times you don't need it. But it's anyway nice to show, to illustrate the energy loss. And you will come back and you calculated 100 flanges, pairs of flanges not being insulated. You found 50 valves not being insulated. Maybe you find some steam lines, traces, where the mineral wool is falling down like powder if you just knock a little bit on the metal sheeting and the cladding. And after that, the typical reaction is you don't know what you don't know until you know. And here we go back to the 75% reaction of the asset owners. They're not stupid. When they know it, they react and they do the right decisions. So this is very important. Of course, most of them are not necessarily aware that they are wasting, because it has always been like this. We saw these nice pictures. I really liked the presentation, right? We saw these nice pictures. It's the same in insulation. Nothing has changed the last 50 years. The way the business is more or less the same, and nobody ever tried to actively convince their client that an uninsulated valve, an uninsulated pair of flanges is something which in today's world is not acceptable, for good reason. So they also don't know the attractive economic effect of doing something here. And of course, if you produce some chemical products, energy is not your core business. It's maybe a pretty important cost in your production, but this is not where you are a specialist in. So I have to be also more energy efficient. I just got assigned to do 5 minutes, not more. Yeah. So what we see here is we need qualified people to go into the industrial facilities, and we need them to show in the plant what the potential is for the asset owner. So to give you an idea, when we started, we asked EiiF to do a report. Business figures. You're always interested in business figures when you talk to any professional company. What is the business for maintenance? What is the business we can generate with tip check services? And we found out it's 620 petajoules, equivalent to 10 million households. So this is quite significant. This is something. What did we realize in 180 tip check is 1.8 petajoule per year. And now, I know it's early in the morning, it's not mathematics, but you can imagine. Okay, so if 180 tip checks do 1.8 petajoule per year, okay, then 100 tip checks would more or less realize 1 petajoule. So to realize these 620, we need to do 62,000 tip checks. And this gives an idea of the potential we see here. We've done 180 so far. Some of the companies are pretty active doing tip check services and offering it to their clients, and they're very successful. But we are far away from 62,000. And with 62,000, there are a multiplier. Let's say the average cost for a tip check for the client is between 4,000 and 10,000 euros, depending on the scope and the size of it. The installation investment, which comes after it, we had from 20,000 euros up to 3 million Singapore dollars, which you can generate with one of these tip checks. So you can imagine 62,000 is a big business opportunity, but it means that contractors need to change their business model. They have to have qualified staff, and they have to get active. They have to knock the door and not wait for Wacker to say, okay, we have to do some refurbishment here, and installation is included. And this is changing behavior, I can tell you, is the most difficult you can do. What helps to change the behavior is actually legislation. So what we do in Brussels is we really lobby that 25% of the potential are not being tapped today. So in some examples, we found huge potential, and then we received the information that the refinery is shut down, not because of the tip check. But of course, that also counts to the 25%. But with legislation, we want to achieve an even better result than 75%. So what we do here, but very quickly, is we work in Brussels, we cooperate there, and we make them understand, or we try to make them understand, that the energy audit itself and the obligation in this Article 8 is very good. It has led already to a lot of energy efficiency activity. But if you don't make it obligatory to do something what is identified by the audit itself will never ever save you 1 kilowatt hour. So there should be something. And of course we know that if this legislation is not there, most likely the figure will remain at a pretty good success rate, 75%. But as you saw on my first slides, we can't waste time and waste energy at all. So we really have to do something here. On the other hand, without these mandatory requirements, and I'm just jumping a little bit here to win some time back, without these obligations here, we feel that some of these potentials which are there, even being cost effective, will remain untapped. Another thing we do, and which is of course very important, we've been working on the subsidy program in Germany. So if companies insulate better than average, they get money from the German government, and the same we do in the white certificate program, Certificat d'Economie Energie. of France, in France, where it's the same thing. If you insulate better than normal, you can get subsidies for it, which is leading in France to the fantastic situation that if you insulate a valve, the investment you have to do is €1 and sometimes €0 because it's all being paid back by the white certificates. It's very interesting. If you're more interested, come back to me please and I will give you more information, but time is running out. So coming back on my first slide, where you saw 1.25 today, 1.6 times the resources, we can see this climate change and we can feel it today, everybody. But I think this shows it also significantly. Check the ice we had in the Arctic in 1984, and this is how it looks today, 2016. This is 1984, this is 2016. And this is not just because we took one picture in summer and one picture in winter. And it's really time to take action. So there is a higher goal than just making business, but it's a clear win-win. And I found this on 24th of August for the first time. It was possible for a huge tanker to sail through the Arctic without an icebreaker. Just, to also show things are really happening here. We saw all these storms and hurricanes going on, but they have always been there. Earthquakes have always been there. But the general picture, and this is another proof, is going definitely into a pretty frightening direction, scary direction. Okay, so that's it. Any more questions?
Thank you very much indeed, Andreas, for a very interesting presentation, and I think you showed us a way actually to drum up a lot more insulation business, so that was fantastic, thank you. We just have a couple of questions that have come through already. The first one was, have you checked after the project, did the savings that you promised actually occur?
Well, I have to say, out of 181 was checked by the client himself. And the prediction in that project, it was a smaller chemical plant in Belgium or the Netherlands. It was the calculated savings was 26,300 euros for this part, which he could control, where you could really see, okay, this is the energy I put in. And after the installation work had been carried out, where he had, it's not so easy to compare because, of course, production facilities don't always run in the same time with the same power. Production varies from year to year, but in this particular part, he could do it, and then the savings were 26,800, so something like 600 euros better than calculated. So that was pretty close, but we don't think that this is true for any project we do. What we usually tell to a client who is suspicious, in the sense that, of course, you calculate these savings because you want to sell the job to me. Just think about when you talk about uninsulated parts or heavily damaged parts, let's say very wet insulation underneath, and you repair this. You can't lose. You will definitely save energy. But of course, and we see that in our own software, a big influence is if this plant is running all year long, 8,760 hours, or maybe to the financial crisis or the economic situation, it runs only 4,000 hours. That has, of course, a significant influence on the calculated savings and the real savings. But, like in a building, if you build the house without windows, and you recommend to put windows in, you can be sure that he's saving energy. So, we haven't had a lot of discussions with clients if this is true or not. They fully understand it. I think with digitalization we're getting somewhere. We're talking about having insulation with some diagnostic systems inside which report back, for example, temperatures and maybe also heat flux. So companies are going more and more into monitoring their energy consumption and also to monitor it inside the production process so that they see better where they lose energy or where they put large amounts to it. And the further we go, the better we can prove how much we save.
Right, because I think that there's a gap in the feedback loop there. You do all of the calculations to show this is the theoretical energy saving and the saving in cost, but actually there's a difficulty showing at the bottom of the energy bill at the end of the year. Actually, it's lower, and this is why it's happened. So,
Well, you know, when we talk about a big plant, we did one of the last tip checks at Daimler and Untertürkheim. And if you look on the energy savings in this particular tip check we did, which was on some washing machines, a temperature range also 60 degrees Celsius, they don't even see it on the energy bill. It's one of the biggest energy consumers we have in Germany. So what we do can easily jump up to some €1 million savings. But in the big industries, as I said before, for a refinery, 23 million is peanuts. For a well-running refinery. So we are below the line, which is one of the reasons why the potential is still there. Industry is not stupid, but it's below the awareness line.
Okay, another couple of quick questions.
Yeah.
Who pays the cost of the audit?
The client.
The client, okay. And when the energy savings and cost savings are that obvious, why don't 25% of tip check audit recipients take your advice?
That is the question we're running after. We can't give you a proper answer. Part of it, but we really don't know how big this figure is. Is it 5% out of it or is it 10% out of it? Part of it is that we are tip checking plants where the management, not after the tip check, but the tip check is part of an energy audit, which is a bigger energy audit and a revision of the plant, where they say, okay, let's close down. Let's shut down the plant, and then of course you don't invest. In some others, we had plants in Germany, for example, and they just said, we've never been insulating heads of flanges, and we will never do. Full stop. That's it. We pay for the energy, and then you can't do. Right? You know, this is where it ends. Yeah. There was a question in here, physical question. Maybe you started first. I come to you.
No. I want to ask you, can I use your download in the attic pack in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah. So we are just starting to get companies together to get funding for the same report we did in Europe, together with the Saudi Arabian university and EiiF to do it for the Middle East. So the story is the same. By the way, Saudi Aramco is the biggest polluter anyway when it comes to carbon emissions. So we're just active to start a project there. So
we have in October, we have the next exhibition there.
Okay, maybe we can talk about it later, because I would be very interested if you're an expert in this region. We don't have so many experts there. We're really starting with it, but it's a very, very interesting region to look at.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the time we have for questions on this one, but once again we'd like to thank our speaker Andreas Guertler for his very, very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.